New developments in the landmark SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, raising questions as to how the case is going to end, not just for Ripple, but for the thousands of investors who own the XRP token. Joining us now is former chair of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and author of Crypto Dad, Chris Giancarlo, along with, of course, our very own Charlie Gasparino. Chris, you've said publicly you don't think XRP should be regulated as security. So why is the SEC so adamant about this?
It's great to be with you, Cheryl. Thanks very much. Charlie, good to see you.
Good to see you, Chris.
You had Chairman Gensler on just, I think, a few days ago, and he made it very clear he wasn't going to comment on an ongoing enforcement matter. The same applies to former chairman as much as it does to current chairman. What I would say is before the SEC launched its enforcement action against XRP and Ripple, I penned an op-ed along with my colleagues from Wilkie Farr and Gallagher in an international law review applying the same approach we would have taken when I was at the CFTC to analyze XRP under that so-called Howey test. And we came to the conclusion in that 2020 article that it wasn't a security, and I stand behind that article today. But as for commenting on that specific action, once it's in front of the court, it's not for me as a former chair to handicap how the judge may rule in this case.
Well, Chris, this case, the Ether is not before the court right now. At least it's before the court of public opinion and whether it is a security. But let's unpack this a little bit. Gary Gensler has consistently sidestepped the question if XRP is a security, because remember, they did some of the similar things they did on Ether, which is sell the token to help build out their platform, thus making it an investment in the SEC's view, obviously not your view. Then why isn't Ether a security? Because they did an ICO to help out help at some point build the Ethereum blockchain. So I guess my question to you, Chris, is if the SEC wins this case, does Gensler have to go back in time and basically consider Ether a security and ding the Ethereum people?
Well, it's the right question to ask, Charlie. And in my book, I talk about our analysis and our work with the SEC back in 2019 when I was chair of the CFTC and Jay Clayton was at the SEC, and our work looking at Ethereum. And it was the Ethereum precedent that we looked at in 2020 after I left the commission in coming to the conclusion that XRP is not a security. Right. So the analogy is certainly there. The precedent is there. And I think depending on how this case comes out, it could be very challenging for the way Ethereum is considered.
So you think Gensler could bring the case if he wins this one against Ethereum?
Again, I don't want to handicap what the SEC might do or not. I just, as a legal precedent, it would be challenging.
Yeah, interesting. Also, the fact that he doesn't comment on it is very sounds like he's at least thinking about it. The other thing I have to ask you is, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, I was going to say, look, in all fairness, there are good reasons why chairs and former chairs shouldn't comment on ongoing cases. It could do damage.
But Ethereum is not an ongoing case unless it is.
No. Look, my view is Ethereum falls on the CFTC side of the ledger as a commodity, and that was borne out by the work we did.
But, Chris, he won't go there, which makes you think he is investigating. And I'd like to just turn this a little bit. Why is the SEC on your turf or your old turf? I mean, it sounds like, all we're talking about is the SEC going into these cryptocurrencies when you guys are at least legally, the main regulator. You're the ones that are supposed to figure out whether it's a commodity or security. You've obviously ruled that you thought XRP was a commodity, at least intellectually you believe that. What does the SEC do? Is this like a power grab by Gensler?
Well, Charlie, you've been around Washington long enough. You know that Washington is just a series of turfs and turf battles. That was one of the things that Jay Clayton and I really tried to put an end to when we were there. I don't think cooperation between the CFTC and the SEC has ever been as good as it was during our terms there. And I really recommend to my successors that they try to harmonize these things internally and not publicly.
Well, that is a real. Before I turn this over to Cheryl, because she has an answer, she wants to ask you a question. That's a really diplomatic way to say Gensler is making a power grab, but I won't, or a turf grab. But anyway, go for it, Cheryl.
I didn't interview him. That was last. I'm not even going to go there. Not my show. But I do want to ask you about just regulation in general. I mean, I think the biggest question for the novice crypto investor is what's the regulatory environment going to be for cryptocurrencies? I think there's still a lot of fear out there.
Absolutely, Cheryl. We have to start getting this right. This is not a novelty anymore. This is the future of finance. This is the future of money. This is going to affect the role of the dollar. It's going to affect the standing of American banks and the global financial markets. We have to start taking this seriously. And earlier this week,
Chris, but I want to just ask you this. We do have to take it seriously, but is the current regulatory environment up for it, or do we have to find something else, like create something else?
Yeah. Well, Charlie, earlier this week, I put out actually fundamental principles for what we need to do. And the first step is this needs to move to Congress. This is not for the Biden administration, Trump administration, some other administration to willy-nilly change it every 4 years or every 8 years. We need Congress to step in, and in a bipartisan, and it must be bipartisan so it stands the test of time, in a bipartisan manner, establish a regime to regulate this new development.
There's so much there.
Fundamental.
So much there. You have to come back and talk more about this. Chris Giancarlo, of course, thank you. Charlie Gasparino, as always.
Thanks,
thank
Chris.
you. Yeah.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back.